Welcome back to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'm Dr. Cheryl, and today, our show is about gut health. Yes, we need so much more information. And our guest is Dr. Riva Robinson. Welcome, Riva.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Dr.
for
Cheryl.
coming
Absolute
and
pleasure.
sharing your wealth of education on this, because we can't get enough. We can't get enough. So let's start with you telling, give your background. Just give a little, snapshot of your background and how you got where you are today.
Sure. So I'm a functional medicine physician. So functional medicine is a growing field where we're really getting back to the roots of medicine, of what it should be, where we're seeking the root causes of disease, creating a personalized plan for people to be proactive with their health, prevent disease, and live life at that next level. Because as you know, and we've spoken before, health is the ultimate wealth.
It's totally, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And money,
Right.
wealth, money-wise, it doesn't mean a thing if you
Right.
can't be healthy.
Absolutely. So what I do is I work with people individually to create customized wellness plans for them. So everything from their nutrition, their exercise, stress management, dealing with a lot of the mental, emotional, and spiritual components that go along with that, to really coach them
Right.
into a place where they can just excel
So,
in all areas of their life.
You said you're from Texas?
Yes.
Okay, so where did you get your education and your doctorate?
So I got my medical degree at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, and then I went on to do my general medicine residency in the Bronx, New York.
Oh, whoa.
So it was a rough time.
That
let's
would
just
be
say.
from Houston to the
Houston
Bronx?
to the
Whoa.
Bronx. Yes, it was
Major education, like zip.
Right. It's funny, is like looking back, I'm like, how did I even survive that? Like, if I had to go back there now, I would die. But in that
It's
time,
tough, isn't
it's
it?
like you do what you have to do to
You're
get
right, of
by. I mean,
course.
you learn so quickly, and you just do what you have to do. So as rough of a neighborhood as it was, and a poor community, and I learned so much because they didn't have all the facilities and all the staff. Like, when I got up in the morning to see my patients, I was the one sticking them, collecting their blood for their labs. They had gotten rid of phlebotomy at that hospital. So it was like, well, we need the labs.
So you
Residents
were
go do
working
it. So
in
we did everything.
the basics of medicine.
Yeah. So it was in that time really that it solidified in me that, okay, there is such desperate need for a different way. As I could see and feel in myself that I was starting to feel hardened toward people just because the environment,
Sure.
it's just part of the culture there where you move as fast as you can, people are coming through
And it's
just like
it's
an
never
assembly
enough,
line.
is it? I mean,
Right.
when you're in that environment.
Right. And so
Stressful.
oh gosh, yes. And so when you see people suffering from, diseases that have gotten so severe, when, it's just a matter of education. And so that's why I love, and what I do, I teach my clients and my patients a lot about gut health, about mental health and mindfulness, and how that applies to their specific conditions, is then they're empowered to make those decisions to bring their life back into balance.
Absolutely. So starting with gut health, of course, first it's being educated on what to eat, what not to eat, and how, when, where, what, and blah, blah, blah. So please start with the basics and then...
Yeah. Well, I'd first like to say about my journey with gut health. So I really didn't get any education aside from the basics of the physiology of the gut at med school, but there really was no emphasis at all on how the gut influences every other system in your body. And so another part of my journey, I had also resigned from preventive medicine residency because I realized that was not the path I wanted to go. And so I took some time and just started exploring what else was out there.
Yeah.
And I came across the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, which kind of combines lifestyle medicine, regenerative medicine, functional medicine. And
And you said that your focus is functional
medicine. Yeah, but there's so much overlap between all of them.
I'm sure.
So I went to a conference and there was a talk on gut health. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I have the occasional gut issues. I should look into that, having no idea that it was going to blow my world just wide open. And it was Dr. Tasneem Bhatia talking about, the gut health, just like I'll share with you in a little bit, the basics of gut health, how it impacts our mind, body, spirit, how it affects
everything.
Yeah, it's so crazy that we say, follow your gut.
Yeah.
And then the gut
and
is
literally.
Yeah. And so she had a very similar background where she got burnt out, and she was talking about her gut issues, and everything she was saying, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's me too. And so, what the basics of what we all need to understand is that, everything we put into our bodies becomes our body. And so,
good or bad.
Yeah. So, when we think about the gut, it's this major regulatory system. And first of all, it's not just your stomach or your intestines. It's everything from your mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and anus.
Right.
Every part of that plays a very distinct role.
Right.
And so there's so many points along that line where you can have dysfunction. And so the thing that I learned from Dr. Bhatia in that lecture was I had never heard of this term before called leaky gut.
Oh, yes.
Are you familiar?
Yeah, I have a friend that had leaky gut.
Yeah. So, I feel like most of us probably have some degree of it. It's kind of a spectrum, but essentially, we have so many different insults from the stress, from the foods that we're eating, if we have specific sensitivities to them,
right,
to the medications we're taking. All those impact the cells, the little, we call them the enterocytes, or the cells of the small intestine.
And it's complicated.
It's
very complicated.
I
wish that, that we can make it a little bit more simple and straightforward so we could all understand what we are, everybody's different, but what, we need individually.
Right. So, one of the things with leaky gut is that you can have it manifest in a lot of different ways. So essentially, the small intestine is supposed to be selectively permeable. The small intestine is how we absorb all the nutrients from our food once they're broken down. But the intestine is also where we have 70% of our immune system resides
70%.
70%.
Wow.
So
that's huge.
Yeah, we tend to think of your immune system and white blood cells circulating through your body, but your gut is that first line of defense. Mm-hmm. And so whenever you're eating foods, gluten is a big one that triggers a lot of people. Dairy, a lot of toxins, pesticides, they cause those cells. So if you have 2 cells here in your intestine, then they have these little villi that absorb the nutrients on them. And so you want the nutrients to, pass through the villi and then go into the cell. Mm-hmm. But with leaky gut, the junctions in between these cells start to weaken. And so you end up with particles coming into the bloodstream at points in time where they should not be. So you can have larger food particles coming in, and then right beneath these cells, you have your immune system, all those immune cells just surveying everything that goes by. And so if they're seeing foods or seeing particles, toxins that should not be there, they start to upregulate, to bring more immune cells into that area, to send signals all throughout the body that there's a foreign invader there. Yeah. And so that's how you end up with some of those symptoms, for me, the big difference that I noticed was my energy levels and brain fog, because whenever you have...
Did you have leaky gut?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you know firsthand.
Yeah. So one of the best ways to be able to see just empirically if you have it is to do an elimination diet where you remove a lot of these common triggers. So it's challenging, I warn my patients that, take this as like your 30-day gut boot camp, because it's not going to be easy, but it's going to give you a lot of information.
Right.
So gluten, dairy, sugar, a lot of nuts. See what else. Those are the main ones. Eggs.
All the white things.
All the white things. But actually
eggs
in this eggs. So eggs are, I want to say, the third most common food allergen out there, which broke my heart because I discovered that eggs. I'm sensitive to eggs. So, you remove all of these foods, and then what happens is, whenever you're eating all these foods in your regular diet, you'll have a certain amount of antibodies produced against them if you have leaky gut, because they're coming through. The immune cells are like, all right, let's target this, let's get this out. They produce antibodies. Whenever you remove the foods, your immune system's like,
free,
great, we can we don't need all these antibodies, we're in the clear. So after completing...
So do the antibodies go back to where they were, or do they just disappear?
Yes, so that's the thing. So with the elimination diet, you do about 3 weeks of removing all of the foods. And then one by one, because you don't want to reintroduce everything, let's say you start with eggs first.
Yeah, because that's like, oh my God.
Or it's like, I want my eggs for breakfast, come on.
Yeah.
And let's say you want to do eggs first, as you're dying to eat eggs again. So you'll do, eggs every day for 2-3 days in a row. And then see if you notice any changes. See if you experience any bloating or gas or indigestion, extra fatigue or brain fog. And that's a signal that you're sensitive to eggs. All right, so can't do eggs. Let's try gluten. Eat bread a few times a day, a couple days in a row. See what happens.
I've already been there.
I know. As much as I love gluten, it's so delicious. I know what's going to happen to me.
Bread with butter. Oh my God, no.
I know.
Wrong.
No, just eat the butter by itself. It's fine. So like
how about popcorn?
Popcorn, actually, so I'd always go with an organic one because, the corn is one of the heavily, pesticide, conventionally farmed, so you want to make sure.
So how did you heal your leaky gut?
Yes, so I'll finish with the explanation of reintroducing it, because that's how I found like my healing diet. So
by eliminating these
exactly.
foods.
So once you start to reintroduce them, then your immune system will start to produce antibodies again. And so now it's like, okay, I have, this immune response going on, and I know that this is the trigger definitively. So healing is essentially just keeping those out of your diet. But then in addition to that, other things that help to bolster gut health. So one of the main foods for your gut cells is an amino acid, glutamine. And so glutamine is very protective for gut health. Zinc, vitamins A, C, and E, which all act like antioxidants. And so those you can get, nuts are a great source for zinc. Vitamin A, any of your red, orange vegetables, C, citrus. And so then your food becomes your medicine. So it's eating a variety.
What a concept, huh?
Right,
Gee.
Back to the basics.
Back to the basics.
Right.
Back the way it used to be, organically, no pesticides and all that stuff. And we're being sprayed. Oh my goodness, it's overwhelming. So,
it's just, I just try not to think about it too much.
I know, you can. It's depressing.
You do what you can.
Yeah, exactly. So you healed your leaky gut by eliminating your foods.
Yes.
Now, did you introduce any of your foods back to you?
Every now and then. So, it's hard to live in a world where there's, Trader Joe's mac and cheese, which is a guilty pleasure of mine. It's dairy, gluten. It's a gut bomb for me. But every now and then, that's like a little treat. But I try, life is all about balance.
Of course.
For me, it's not living if you're always worried and always feeling like
that's stressful.
You have to
and your body reacts to that stress.
Your body reacts to that stress, exactly. So I was at a talk a couple months ago, and that they had a panel of functional medicine physicians, and one of the doctors was saying they did a test where, they had gluten intolerant people. They did an experiment. They said, here's gluten, gave gluten to 2 people. One person got it, one person didn't. The person who thought they were getting gluten but did not still reacted as if they had. And so there's such, going back to that mind-body connection.
Oh, it is. It's the key.
Yeah.
It is the key.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So, for me, it's living a life in balance and just staying in tune to my gut. Sometimes I can tell, like after a vacation where I've haven't been in control of my diet, when I'm not getting enough sleep, when things are more stressful, I can sense what's going on in there.
For sure.
And then I get a little bit more strict. I know I need to make sure I'm taking my glutamine every day and being more diligent about my vitamins
I started taking probiotics.
That's another one.
And
yes.
I haven't had heartburn. Now I do get indigestion when I get stressed.
Oh yeah.
The acid's in my stomach whenever I get really stressed. But the probiotics, I am free of that.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And I love it. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you have 100 trillion bacteria in your gut. Hundreds of different species, but they're not just sitting there hanging out. They're actually influencing our own genome. The genome of the bacteria are sending signals to ours, and so in a way, we're almost more bacteria than human because they outnumber us, 10 to 1
billions.
As far as cells go. Trillions. 100 trillion bacteria. And so, they regulate so much of our metabolism. They regulate so many factors like related to brain health. I mean, there's not a single system in the body that isn't affected by the balance of the bacteria there.
Well, I've talked to 2 oncologists recently, and they said the same thing. Everything starts with your gut, and we just have to get more educated around it.
We need to educate the doctors themselves. I mean, I had to seek this out myself after already paying for an expensive medical education. I'm still investing a lot in my own education so that I can serve my patients at that higher level. Because there's so, I would say, of the medicine that I'm practicing now, I'd say most of it is totally unrelated to what I learned. Of course, it's good to have that knowledge of all the medications and the pathophysiology and this and that to understand the context of where the patient's coming from.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's a similar approach to every person, but just focusing in more on different systems. So somebody might have more hormonal dysregulation. Well, the gut impacts too. Impacts the hormones too. So
it seems like the hormonal system is wide open to get education on. I don't think they have a lot of information. I mean,
it's true.
I don't know if it's more of a female thing or men have hormones too. So.
Right. I also think men aren't as willing to talk a lot about their issues. It's like we see them
the
grumpy,
denial thing.
But they're no offense to any men in the room.
No.
But there is such a thing known as andropause, where men do lose their testosterone levels significantly.
And women get more.
Well, we get decreasing testosterone and estrogen, but then, we end up with a whole cascade of other effects. It affects the thyroid, it affects the adrenals, and we have a much more complicated system. And so it's a lot trickier to balance the female hormones.
And to diagnose it.
Right.
Have you ever had to deal with a hiatal hernia?
No, I've not. I've known some patients, but not personally, who've had that. Yeah.
So I'm just curious because I do have that, and I'm trying to heal it, and it's not easy.
Have you seen, as I know there are some people, and I wouldn't know of anybody in the area, but I've heard of people manually helping to reduce that.
Yeah, pushing it down and drinking water and bouncing or going down steps. And I've tried that, but it's not working.
Well, I'll have to do some more research for you.
I think it's also losing weight.
Yeah, well, I'd love to help you there too. That's a big part of what I do. I mean, gut health, so there's, I mentioned this, you might have seen it in the YouTube video I released on understanding gut health, where I referred to a study with mice. Or no, actually, it's a separate study. There's a study with people where they took a fecal transplant from an obese person and transferred it to a normal weight person. That normal weight person started to gain more weight and started developing more metabolic dysregulation from the transfer of those bacteria in the feces that they got. So those, the information in those bacteria were telling them, hey, let's put on weight, let's dysregulate insulin, let's do all this damage, and all that's just from our poop.
Interesting study.
And so, just to think you're on the right track with the probiotics, that's a great step. I mean, but it's a multi-pronged approach for sure.
Yeah. So, talk more about foods.
Yes.
With gut health.
Yes. And so your gut needs fiber. That's one of the big things. So it's not just for mechanically pushing, waste through the colon. It's, that becomes a food for the bacteria. And so that's why, eating vegetables and fruit are so important. And so the first thing I always recommend, and this is challenging for some people, is having 7 servings of vegetables a day.
See, that doesn't bother me at all.
I love veggies.
I do too. Artichoke, all of it.
Yeah.
Maybe lima beans, but I can eat all vegetables for sure.
Yes. So, so getting in plenty of vegetables in as many different colors, it helps to provide not just the fiber, but then, also all of those specific micronutrients, that what we call phytochemicals, that are the color pigments of the different vegetables that
I had some purple cauliflower the other day.
Me
and
too.
It was delicious.
Really good. Did you get it at the farmer's market?
Where did I get it? I don't remember where. No, I didn't get it at the farmer's market. I think it was the organic one. I think it was at Trader Joe's.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so cauliflower is a great one. So cauliflower falls into the cruciferous family of vegetables, which also includes broccoli and Brussels sprouts, and those are powerhouse vegetables.
I love Brussels sprouts. I eat them all every week.
So good. We just got some and gonna make some later this week. They're so great, but they're really potent for detoxification, which is important for your gut because, including your liver as part of that gut system, because it's
the filter.
all integrated in that. It helps to upregulate the detoxification processes and essentially...
Explain upregulate.
Upregulate means to increase the activity of it.
Okay.
So you have a lot... So detox in our body occurs in 2 steps. You have phase 1, which oftentimes your body is going to take a toxin, go through phase 1, and it can sometimes produce something that's even more reactive. And so phase 2 takes that and neutralizes it into a form that can be taken out through the urine or through your feces. And so cruciferous vegetables are great because they help to increase the activity of those enzymes in the phase 1 and phase 2.
To keep it processing faster.
Right, because whenever those processes slow down, your metabolism isn't as effective, therefore affecting weight, therefore affecting your energy levels and your cognitive function. And so getting plenty of vegetables isn't just, for bulk and for feeding bacteria. It's for detox, it's for brain health, it's for every possible thing. It's just, I love how everything is just so well integrated and there's no function that's occurring independently. It's beautiful woven fabric that just, it's great. I've fallen in love with medicine in such a different way. It's like in med school and residency, I was like, I hate this. why did I do this? I just wasted my life and all this money. But now it makes sense, you know, you can take it in context. And, you know, with gut health, and, you know, I always had a lot of issues with bloating and gas, and, you know, travel was always difficult because I'd be like, oh, well, you know, I'd be so uncomfortable on the plane, and I never knew what was going to, you know, make me just feel bad. And then, you know, after going through that and learning, okay, I can select foods that agree with my body. It's simple.
Sugar, bread. You know, I avoid a lot of the fruits too because of the sugar.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't need that much fruit, honestly. I mean,
I can eat vegetables until I go home, you know. I mean, for every meal or snacks, I'll eat vegetables.
Yeah, it's so great. I mean, if there was one group of fruits I'd recommend everybody should be eating, it would be the berries.
Oh, sure.
Because they have a lot.
They're very prolific right now.
Right, I love it. I love it. The strawberries are so sweet. Raspberries. Oh my goodness. And so, you know, and that goes back to the 7 servings. So that would include fruit in there. But I would say only 1 to 2 servings out of that should be fruit. Just, you know, to reduce the sugar that you're getting, as you mentioned.
And I just was looking out my window the other day. I live in Mill Valley. And there's a whole side that's full of blackberries. And I can't wait until they're ready.
Oh, that's so nice. Living in downtown San Francisco, we really don't have that. Looking forward to someday where we can have a yard and see vegetation.
For sure. And have grow your own garden.
Oh, that'd be the best.
I'm trying to grow those miniature bell peppers.
Okay.
The red and the orange.
Oh, nice.
And it's still surviving, but we'll see.
Okay, maybe some of the warm weather will help them to perk up.
Will.
Yeah, so going back to your other suggestions about, or other question about gut health. So you just reminded me, as you mentioned, the peppers.
Oh, good.
It just slipped me again.
The orange and red and yellow ones.
Yes, sorry about that.
That's
so
okay.
So eat the rainbow is another common thing I tell people. So, you know, and it doesn't have to be all in one day, but, you know, you should be seeking these out. So like I tell people, you know, go to the grocery store and go on a scavenger hunt and just find as many different colors as you can. And that way you're going to keep your whole body in balance. You don't have to worry about, oh, well, I'm eating enough of this or that. Like, you know, it's a cumulative thing. So over the course of a week, if you're getting all those 7 colors in, you'll be fine.
Yeah, especially the purple ones.
Purple, purple is like really powerful. Like the purple and blues, blueberries, blackberries. They're so powerful, especially for cognitive issues. And so there was one study that I came across a while back that looked at giving people with Alzheimer's disease equivalent, it was an extract of blueberry, but equivalent of 1 cup of blueberries a day showed reduction in symptoms of their Alzheimer's. Just from blueberries. It's amazing.
Oh, goodness. Now if we can just get them pure and organic, you know.
Yes, that was the other thing I just remember from the peppers. So colorful, eat the rainbow, but then also make sure that you are being selective about getting organic vegetables wherever necessary. So I love referring people to the EWG website, Environmental Working Group, where they have the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So, I mean, you shouldn't have to buy everything organic. I mean, you can if you have the money.
Different levels of what doesn't, you know, have potential for more, you know, toxins with it, depending on the vegetable.
Precisely.
And I have a list at home. I have to find it.
Yeah, it might be the list that they produce. So like things like leafy greens or, you know, the soft fruits where you're eating the skin. You know, once those are sprayed with pesticides, it's still there.
Yeah, exactly.
And so even with...
Like, you know, for the apple, I have always peeled the apples. I always do. And I don't eat them that often, but because of the sugar. You know, and I love them. They're, you know, nice crispy Fuji apples.
Oh, nice.
But I always take the peel off because I'm afraid that there's going to be pesticides of some sort.
Yeah, or you can get them organic, if you're not eating them too regularly,
I don't.
Yeah, so that's the thing to be aware of because, as I mentioned earlier, those pesticides do affect your gut.
Yeah.
So it's not only the killing the bugs that are present there,
goodness.
it's damaging your cells, it's, causing all sorts of hormonal dysregularities too. I mean, it's
so
crazy.
complicated. And, how do you monitor your hormones?
Yeah, so, just your own, just walking through your daily life and experiencing, how you feel is a good indicator. So energy levels, mood, joint aches and pains, your skin, hair, nails. So as women, as we get older and we have less estrogen, that helps protect our skin and our bones. And so, you can kind of do your own self-check and see, how are things going? How's my energy? But, the definitive way is to do a lab test, and that I do quite regularly on my older patients because, using bioidentical hormone therapy, you can help, give people years back, not just in the sense of them feeling younger, but actually prolonging, their life.
I usually get my blood tests, my whole series of blood tests once a year, and I just had them.
That's good.
And they were all healthy.
Awesome.
Except that I have a little bit of a fatty liver.
Okay. And that's reversible, though.
Yes, and I started taking dandelion.
Good.
And,
and milk thistle is also another
it's
good
combined.
one. Good, good. So you're on the right track there. And just getting plenty of omega-3 fatty acids, that's going to help. Fish, lots of salmon.
Yeah.
I eat salmon almost every day.
Really?
It's so delicious.
Yeah.
But other fish would include other cold water fish.
Right.
Tuna, mackerel, sardines, herring, all those.
How about oysters?
I'm not sure about their omega-3 content,
I
but
don't know either.
I also know they tend to be a little bit more on the polluted side.
Yeah,
be
well,
careful
I was thinking
where
I
you
like
get
the
them.
smoked oyster.
Oh.
I don't eat them
okay.
very often anymore, but
hey, well, if
they're
it's
rich.
a treat,
It's
if
rich.
a treat,
Ooh.
indulge.
And I'm picky about the salmon because even though I'm Californian, I was raised up near Seattle, Bellevue, Washington, and we would get the best salmon. Oh my God! And Copper River salmon, and all, so I'm spoiled, and it's hard. I won't eat the Atlantic farm salmon.
Yeah.
I won't eat it unless I go out to dinner with somebody, and
it has to
it just, I just.
It's kind of like me with steak, coming from Texas, where we get really good. I don't eat steak that often, but most of the times when I eat it outside of Texas,
if I'm going to eat a steak, it better be a filet mignon. But that's once every 5 years.
Just go all out.
But I feel it in my gut, though.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I try to keep red meat at a minimum simply for that, because my gut doesn't tolerate it well.
Yeah, it's too hard to digest.
Yeah, and some of the things that you can do is to take a digestive enzyme, and those contain the protein, the enzymes that break down the protein for you. Some contain enzymes that help with the carbohydrates, and some for the fats. So
there's a lot to learn about your body to do it right.
There is. And that's what I love. I mean, my husband could attest that I'm always experimenting on myself. There's what we call our kitchen. There's a pharmacy in there, essentially, of all the different powders and supplements and different things. As if I'm going to recommend something to a patient or a client, then I always want to try it first. And
You're setting an example, and that is wonderful.
I feel we doctors should be like that. We should be paving the way and leading a life that's healthy, so that people will want to follow our path.
That's
but
right.
Unfortunately, most doctors aren't healthy.
No.
And the doctors that I trained with in residency were unfortunately, some of the most toxic people.
I know.
And you're supposed to be a healer. You're supposed to be around people who are sick,
That's
and you're
why I
passing
don't-
that energy on to
know.
them.
And that's why I don't always trust doctors, and I'm very picky about finding doctors.
You should be. Yeah, you should be. It's our responsibility to bring that healing energy to our patients. As
So practice
you well
what
know.
you preach.
Exactly. So, I feed into myself a lot daily, not just food, but, spiritually and mentally, just making sure that I'm in a state where I can serve people at my best.
Do you meditate every day?
Oh, yes. So my routine, I wake up around, goal is 5 a.m., but depending on how late I stay up. So by, 5:30 or so, I have my time where I do my visualizations and, focus on my big goals and vision. And then I do some affirmations. I have a track that I listen to on a meditation app. It's a pretty involved routine. And then I, have a devotional called Jesus Calling that's kind of scripture based and, get my spiritual side that way. But then also I'm going through a life coaching program called Thinking into Results. And so I do the lesson for that and get more of the intellectual side of that spiritual journey. And so I love it. Like, it takes a lot of time and energy. It's an extra hour, sometimes hour and a half, but all that pays back dividends into my day.
Well, and you can treat your patients with that too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm constantly sharing stuff that I'm learning from either Thinking into Results or just insights that I'm having from, my experience and my journey as, I call a doctorpreneur. It's like there's so many parallels.
I mean, things are always evolving, and you can't know it all.
No.
It's evolving all the time.
Yeah, I'm so humbled. His every day when I'm talking to a patient or a client and I get stumped, I'm like, you know what? Like, thank you for bringing that up. Like, I get to learn more and I'll bring that back to you. I think a big part of the problem with medicine today is that doctors' egos get in the way and they don't say, I don't know. Either it's just, well, that doesn't exist. Like,
or take this
or
drug.
Take this. This is the only way.
Oh, no.
And, the patients know their bodies, so it's not so much the doctors having to diagnose, it's the doctor listening to the patient's story and the patient telling them what they need. But the doctors often come into an encounter already with their mind made up what they're going to do. They're not listening to the patient knows they're not listening. They leave disappointed. They don't get the help they need. And it's
I have a pretty good doctor.
That's good.
He always sits and listens.
That's so good.
And then he'll ask questions, and then how I feel about it. So I'm happy about that.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'm real stubborn about taking medications.
You should be.
No.
All that's passing through your gut and sending some kind of signal.
Yep.
So everything is either, I think of everything as either moving us closer to health or away from it. There's very few things that are just kind of neutral. So medications often have good benefit,
side effects.
But a whole long list of side effects come along. I mean, the commercials have like 5 minutes of side effects. Meanwhile, there's happy people galloping through the meadow and
money. It's all motivated by money.
I know.
It's disgusting.
I know. That's the world we get to live in, and we get to set a different example.
That's right. And the best example is yourself. Starting with yourself.
Yeah.
Like
Doctor, heal thyself.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'll tell you, I'm a work in progress every single day.
Aren't we all?
Yes, and I love the process of just getting to know my body. Like, it's been quite an intimate journey because, rewind to, my teens and, early 20s. I actually rewind even further. I was a gymnast growing up. And as you probably know, gymnasts and dancers deal with a lot of body image issues. Along with that comes eating issues. You know, I never had
Yes.
anorexia or bulimia, but I did have very disordered eating.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I would binge and eat a ton and then restrict and then exercise a lot and just went through this, you know, just
Vicious
constant cycle.
Yeah.
And, you know, that, like, I just felt so separate from myself. Like, I didn't feel in my mind like I was a person inhabiting this body. I was like,
You know, I think that's a big issue with today, is that we're not in tune with our bodies. And I mean, I've had to learn, I'm still learning how to be in tune with my body.
yeah.
And, you know, growing up, I wasn't taught that.
No.
And it's so important, that mind, body, health. So, you know, there again, it's experimenting and seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's, you know, been the journey of, okay, well, in college, it was learning nutrition and the basics that helped me get to a point where I could eat more regularly and understand how my body responded to foods, and being able to exercise in moderation and not have to kill myself on the treadmill for hours.
Right.
And then, you know, as I got further along, it was, you know, understanding the gut and then seeing how that made such a huge impact in how I felt, and
Right.
even lost those extra 5 pounds that just hung on, that I tried to diet away, you know, by taking care of my gut, lost that extra weight, and I felt better. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like, I love this body, and I had never, you know, loved my body.
How do you
It
feel
was-
about drinking coffee?
In moderation, it's okay. You know, I
Well,
tell
what's
people,
moderation?
I would say no more than 3 cups a day.
Oh, wow, I can't imagine drinking that many.
Yeah, I mean, two,
I
two
drink-
I would say, I mean, there's some pretty heavy coffee drinkers
Ooh, I
out
can't
there.
imagine. I'd be
but-
bouncing off the wall if it were caffeine.
Yeah,
I drink
one
caffeine
is fine
free.
for me.
Caffeine free for me.
That's good. Like,
Yeah.
coffee does have a lot of great antioxidants in it. Caffeine is actually good for our brains, you know, in moderation. So, I mean, if you're taking too much, you're going to feel
Oh,
anxious
yeah,
and
of
jittery and
course.
crazy.
Yeah.
But it does help boost, does help boost creativity, does help you, you know, think on a different plane. Like, every day that I do have my coffee, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forget how good I feel when I drink coffee. This is great.
Yeah.
But I do
Well,
the
I
bulletproof
used
coffee.
to get bulletproof. And what is that?
Yeah, so that's where, so Dave Asprey is kind of the bulletproof founder. So that's a brand, but you can
okay.
do
That's the brand.
butter coffee is essentially what it is. You put grass-fed butter or ghee along with MCT oil, or medium chain triglyceride. It's ultra refined coconut oil.
Oh, okay.
So you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of fat with it, which also helps to moderate the caffeine absorption. So I
Yeah.
don't feel like I take that, you know, rocket ship to the
Right,
moon and then
right.
crash back down.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
nice
I
to
gave
stay.
up regular coffee, caffeine coffee, because I would get indigestion.
That too.
So,
It's
you know,
acidic.
yeah, acidic. And so I started doing the probiotics, but I also gave up the caffeine. And I'm
Okay.
curious, maybe I should give the caffeine another chance now that I'm taking the probiotics.
Yeah, yeah. So
I don't
there's
know.
also other,
Experimental.
exactly. And so going back to some more of gut health and
Yeah,
healing.
you're right.
And so there's what we call a 5R approach to gut health. So before reintroducing the coffee back,
Yeah.
I'd recommend going through a 5R approach to make sure everything's all aligned. So
Mm-hmm.
the first R is remove. And so that's remove any of the triggers that might be causing indigestion or any other issues. Then it's replace. So replace any of the things that you might be missing, the glutamine, the prebiotics, fiber. And that's,
Right.
you know, that's feeding the bacteria there. Reinoculate. The third R is reinoculating yourself with the good bacteria from probiotics. Another thing you might need to replace, a lot of people have low stomach acid, which causes
I don't
issues
think I
with
have that
digestion.
problem, because I know immediately when I eat something that I shouldn't, because I can feel the
You
acid.
feel the acid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, some people, as we get older, the cells that produce acid aren't as effective. We start to lose all cells as we get older. And so sometimes taking a supplement to replace the hydrochloric acid can help with digestion. I mentioned the probiotics, reinoculate, repair. So that's going to be the glutamine, zinc, vitamins A, C, and E that help to repair the gut. And then finally is rebalance. And so that's where the mind-body component comes in to help, whatever practice that helps you to de-stress.
Right.
Because stress is a huge trigger for gut issues, as you know.
I do know that too well.
Yes. And so making sure, doing all of those on a daily basis and getting, that consistency so your gut can heal, then you can be in a place to reintroduce things and be able to tolerate them better.
Well. So what else
A
about
lot to think about.
Yeah, well, it is, and it can be overwhelming.
It is.
But you got to take one step at a time to start healing the gut.
Totally.
And
agree.
What concerns me is all the chemicals that we're ingesting, breathing, drinking, that we have no control over.
Right.
And how can we monitor that? That's a serious issue.
I totally agree.
The geoengineering, the aluminum, strontium, barium, sulfur nitrate. It's like, oh my God. So how do we... The one thing that I did learn was for the aluminum, because of the Alzheimer's effect from aluminum, is Dr. Russell Blaylock is a neurosurgeon, and I watched his video, and he's done extensive research on Alzheimer's, and he said, and I've been doing this since I heard him talk about this, suggesting, is taking saffron.
Okay.
So I get it in capsule form.
Nice.
And I've been taking it probably for 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And it blocks the aluminum from going into your cells.
That's amazing. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, Dr.
Thank
Blaylock.
you for educating me.
No,
I love that.
I'm glad to share it, because if we can save our minds, from a natural, herb.
And that's why I love herbs. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because so many herbs like cilantro, parsley, garlic, the list goes on.
Yeah.
They all can help fight some of these heavy metals. And so you can, throw them in smoothies. I put a handful of cilantro or basil or parsley in my green smoothies. And simply doing that every day, you can help your body be able to rid some of those heavy metals. And then another thing I recommend to all of my patients, and what most of them do whenever we start their treatment, is going through a metabolic detoxification program where it's either 10 or 28 day, depending on how severe their symptoms are. 10 or 28 day program where it's a blend of an elimination diet, removing all those triggers, and then taking supplements and smoothies that are just jam-packed with vitamins and minerals and cofactors that help to increase your liver and your kidney detox processes.
Right.
And it helps to reset, as we're constantly exposed to all these toxins, and your body can't keep up with the demand. There's only so much it can do before, okay, well, guess we're going to develop cancer now,
On that note, how can you antidote it, on a mental, spiritual level?
Like spiritually detoxing.
Yes.
Oh, that's where I think on a daily basis and all throughout the day, meditating, I have my affirmations that I say to myself, is our mind can be a very toxic place.
Yes.
And, I think we're almost wired to think negative thoughts over positive ones. Like, it's just our conditioning,
Yeah, it's true. And I remember when I was involved with the religious science of mind, I learned, and I remember vividly where I was and at the time and everything. And I would stop whenever I caught myself doing negative, and I'd scream, "Stop!"
So great. I love it.
You know, just because I
you have
wanted
to shake
it to
yourself out of it.
Yeah. You know.
Yes.
And I did that I don't know how many times, but it's like, no,
good.
don't go there. Just don't go there.
Your mind is like a child. You know, it's gonna be crazy and throw tantrums and be irrational unless
that's the ego.
you guide it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I find meditation to be such a powerful tool to train my mind to focus on the good that I want to create, to think the thoughts, even whenever I don't want to, is it's a lot more convenient at times just to,
Fall back and then-
fall back and then just, you know, repeat, you know, oh, that happened, and just like relive it over and over and over in your mind is what we experience
That's
in our
insanity.
mind. It is. You know, but everything that we think, your brain, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what's in the mind. And so if you're constantly reliving those negative experiences, it's like it's happening to you again over and over. That affects your body. That affects everything. That's one of the major, you know, triggers for disease is those unresolved issues.
And
in
I
the
think
mind.
it's so important for people to learn to listen, you know, listen to their bodies. I know when I first started doing it, and I certainly haven't mastered it, but, you know, it's like we need sometimes to be guided.
Oh, yeah.
How do you really listen to your body? We're so programmed away from that, especially women.
Right. Yes, it's just time. I think it's being patient with ourselves and not judging ourselves.
Absolutely. Well,
it's
that's all part of unconditional love.
Yes. You know, it's so easy to, you know, go into meditation and then your thoughts start to wander and you're like, oh, shoot, no, I'm bad. It's bad at meditation.
But it's switching. There's that switch.
Right.
And you can do that once you get in the habit of it. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it's, you know, recognizing that, you know, everything's in flow. You know, your mind is going to flow somewhere else and then you can gently bring it back. But it's, you know, just like training. Like, you know, when
it's a discipline.
Yeah.
You know,
when I was a little kid starting out gymnastics, you know, I couldn't do everything, but you know, 10 years later, I was doing things I never could have imagined I would have done.
Now, I have the opposite thing. I couldn't do gymnastics because I have a back, like a congenital back thing.
Oh.
I couldn't do it. It hurt like heck.
Oh, no.
But I was a fabulous athlete.
That's amazing. What sports did you do?
Well, softball, track, basketball.
Awesome.
You know, biking.
Nice.
I still bike.
It must be beautiful biking around here.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's a lot of paths that aren't too hilly, you know. But I mean, you can do the big hill, but I think I'll stay away from that right now. I'm not conditioned for it.
With time, you know.
You know, if I really want to. So, you know, that's.
Yeah, you can do anything you put your mind to.
That's right.
If you want it bad enough.
That's right. You just have to want it bad enough.
Absolutely.
That goes with anything in life.
I know.
You know what? We only have like not even 4 minutes left.
Time just blew by.
Yes. And so if there's something that you want to share that really is, you know, like those nuggets, those wonderful, you know, golden nuggets of information sharing, please.
Great. Yeah.
I mean, you've shared a lot of information, and I think it's really important, you know, now to really revisit the gut health. Totally. I mean, I keep getting it. Like I said, I've talked to 2 doctors recently, and it all starts with the gut.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, my first.
Stop eating sugar.
There's just one thing, you know, just get the sugar out of the diet. The sugar is poison.
It is, and it stays in your cells too.
It feeds cancer.
Yeah.
You know, so
addiction. It's an addiction.
Yeah, I mean, it's more addictive than cocaine.
Yeah.
They've done studies.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, we wonder why, you know, obesity and diabetes and Alzheimer's and cancer, like why these are just. They're so prevalent, and
it's
you know,
getting
you have
worse.
kids
I mean,
like 8, 9 years old with diabetes.
Oh my God!
It's destroying us. So get the sugar out of the diet. That would be nugget number one. But on more of just life nugget, I would just say listen to your gut. I feel like we women, we're much better at following our intuition.
Right.
Right. Whether it's listening to your gut and tuning into what you're feeling. So
and not denying it.
Not denying it. Yeah. How many times have you gone into an interaction with somebody and you just like felt like something's just not right?
Yeah, well
it's like your gut is telling you something's not right.
Right.
You move forward with it and then it falls apart. And you're like, oh, well,
you
snap.
didn't listen to your gut.
Didn't listen to your gut.
Your intuition, your gut,
Yeah, so we all have, a powerful inner guide. Our gut, our intuition, we're connected to a higher source in ourselves, but if we're willing to listen to that, your life can take a totally different direction.
Transform.
That's how I ended up on the path I am now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Resigning from a residency where I was sure to, be successful in a traditional setting, and then not having any plans, not knowing where I was going, just knowing that like I was literally dying inside, like feeling like turmoil in my gut, feeling depressed and, practically suicidal. I knew I had to do that for my own sake or I wouldn't be here today.
Right.
And so if the more you deny your gut, the more misery you'll be in, whether that's physical, mental, or spiritual. So
well, it's all connected.
Cue into what's going on, meditate, and find a way, whatever works for you. Not everybody
there's so many
meditates.
different forms of meditation that, I experimented with a bunch of different ones before I got to the one where I could just go right into it.
And that's what's so beautiful is just as numerous as we are as people and our personalities and everything, there's a modality suited for everybody.
That's right. That's right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it shows.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wonderful information and guidance.
Welcome.
Definitely. Thank you for coming.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is my first time appearing on TV, so thank you for this beautiful opportunity,
Absolutely.
Dr. Cheryl.
Okay. Lots of blessings and unconditional love.
Thank you.
And